Hello, I'm Alexis Gordon, and I will be presenting my oral presentation of this semester's final project. Today is August 5th of 2018, and my topic of discussion will be on logical fallacies and cars. Um, the first logical fallacy I will be covering is on slide number 3. It is a red herring. Of this particular example, I found a Geico commercial of Too Tall Jones, and essentially the commercial was where a man was dressed in a suit and tie. As everybody knows, that Geico, the main slogan is you can save 15% or more on car insurance. He starts with that, but then he goes and veers off into, well, is Too Tall Jones too tall? But essentially, that has nothing to do with anything. By definition, in the red herring, the author includes an unrelated feature within the dispute to distract the audience from the essential issue. In other words, basically talking about car insurance and reverting it over into a doctor's office of whether a man is too tall has absolutely nothing to do with anything. As a result, this red herring produces a highly confusing yet entertaining effect to the audience. This is a clear disconnect between saving 15% or more on car insurance and the height of Too Tall Jones, as the two subjects have absolutely nothing in common. This ad would not function without the fallacy, as there is no purpose without making the comparison. The commercial is appealing to the audience's sense of humor, therefore this is an emotional logical fallacy. This emotional fallacy benefits Geico by manipulating the consumer's initial perception of the product through the use of humor, ultimately resulting in a growth of sales. So essentially, the distraction has absolutely nothing with the car insurance itself. However, because it's funny, it attracts people. Once recognizing this fallacy, consumers could stop investing into the company, as this ad is making no type of meaningful statement. In other words, because there's no purpose, it could deter people from it, but also because it is funny, it also attracts people as well. The next false analogy on slide number 5 will be an online ad, and here it says assault vehicle. There's a picture of a black car. It says it's a black, scary looking, and was clearly designed to kill innocent people by enabling the driver to exceed the legal speed limit by over 100 miles per hour. 32,367 people were killed on the roadways in 2011. Americans do not need 470 HP. Ban them. In other words, this ad is basically saying that because so many people have died with cars that can exceed the limit of 100 miles per hour, this is why people are getting killed. Okay. The logical fallacy that I will be describing is of what is called a false analogy. By definition, what a false analogy is when a comparison is established between two things that are not enough alike to support that comparison. Basically, two things are being compared, and there's not enough similarities between them to actually make a defining statement between the two. The two things falsely compared are the number of deaths, or the two things falsely compared are the number of deaths with the car associated with it. Instead, the correct comparison within this ad should be the drivers behind the wheel to the number of deaths that have resulted because of it. This fallacy produces a very negative effect as the audience. The car simply cannot drive without the person being behind the wheel. On another note, the amount of deaths on roadways were not directly associated with this specific car. Therefore, you can't make this claim at all. I would agree that this ad is rooted in the fallacy. Without this comparison, there would be no purpose. Although a customer recognizing this fallacy can result in a negative effect to the company advertising, the company is still willing to take the risk. In other words, this whole thing is an emotional fallacy. On slide number 7, the next logical fallacy I will be discussing is what is called poisoning the well. Here is where I found a radio ad. By definition, poisoning the well occurs when one party shares negative information relating to another party's products, services, or other means of standards and or performance in order to discredit them. In this particular ad, the poisoning of the well occurs in the opening statement when the narrator negatively refers to other car insurance agencies. This fallacy ultimately causes the consumer to doubt other insurance agencies by trusting what the ad is telling them, therefore becoming more likely to join the agency the ad is promoting. The ad could function without the fallacy, however, it would not have the same effect. If there were no fallacy, then the ad would simply be promoting their own product rather than discrediting anyone else's. So basically, because they could just simply set out their information, but because they are discrediting somebody else, this promotes a personal advantage to these people, therefore making the ad more of a, not necessarily like a cat fight, but in a way because it's deterring from another company, it creates an advantage to them, and it's more than just simply stating the information at which the insurance provides. In this case, there is no if when it comes to people discovering the use of the fallacy. It is fairly obvious what they are trying to do. This is one of those fallacies where even if the consumer is aware of its existence, it still may work as long as the audience believes the claim that the insurance agency is making. And this is an ethical fallacy. On slide number 9, the last logical fallacy I will be discussing is a scare tactic on a print ad. Here is a picture of a car that has obviously been crashed with the quote saying, "Think about your car insurance." Slide number 10. A scare tactic by definition is used when the organization wants to instill a spirit of fear in the consumer in order to elicit a specific response. This ad uses scare tactics through visual imagery. The ad depicts a photo of a smoking, smashed car that obviously just crashed. It then relates the image to the purchase of car insurance, hence relating the two. This particular fallacy causes the consumer to imagine themselves in that exact car crash or one similar to it. This then makes them uncomfortable and even fearful, putting them in a sensitive mindset and therefore causing them to feel the need to purchase said insurance. This ad cannot function without the fallacy as it is the entire selling point. People are very visual, so simply stating the terms car crash do not have the same effect as actually showing an image of one, similar to the last fallacy I just explained. Even though people may recognize this is an emotional fallacy, once fear is instilled, it cannot be undone. This is why scare tactics are so effective. As a wrap-up, I have said in advertising, the truth is manipulated to create a version of the truth that best suits the one campaigning it. Therefore, truth and dishonesty, in essence, truth is manipulated to be used for personal advantage. In essence, depending on the motivations, advertisers shape the ad with an approach that produces personal advantage to themselves and the company. This can then cause a misinterpretation and or easily turn the ad into dishonesty. So pretty much the comparison between the two is that truth is truth, and then you have dishonesty. Dishonesty is what is wrong of truth, but it's not essentially stating a direct lie, but it's not also stating the whole truth either. I hope you liked my presentation. Thank you so much.